Here's to whiskey kisses with peachy taste of sin.
Greetings, whiskey folk. Welcome back to Drinking Out Loud. I am your host as ever, Adam Bradshaw, and it is an honour and a pleasure to have you back here on the official Dram Association YouTube channel for another digital tasting. We are carrying on our celebration of Fégile today, and this is a very exciting tasting for me. I actually put it up to a vote with our Dram Association members locally as to what other Islay distillery we would feature for a vertical tasting, and you guys chose Bunnahabhain, and that delighted me because I love Bunnahabhain. I think it's a fantastic distillery, but it also delighted me because it gives me an excuse to once again showcase one of my all-time favourite whiskies, the Black Bottle. A whiskey which means an awful lot to me, not just because it's delicious and incredible value, but also just it's an integral part of my own personal whiskey story as to how I got into whiskey. So I've got my bottle of Black Bottle ready. I've got some Black Bottle swag. I've got my little jug. I've got my lapel pin. And if you're wondering why the hell I'm wearing sunglasses, well, that is because, believe it or not, I'm wearing Black Bottle sunglasses. Probably a little too small. It's a very small logo. There you go. Black Bottle sunglasses from Foster Grant. That is cool. I probably shouldn't be wearing them inside. It's probably bad luck or something. Not that I really believe in that, but let's prop them down there. That's yeah, love those sunglasses. They make everything slightly red, which I don't know. Maybe it's subliminally making me slightly angry when I wear them. Anyway, love them. Yeah, one of the reasons Black Bottle is a big part of my own personal whiskey journey is because of the bar I used to work at in Edinburgh. When I first moved to Scotland and I needed a part-time job to get through university, I worked at a place called the Royal Oak on Infirmary Street in downtown Edinburgh. And the Royal Oak sold a hell of a lot of Black Bottle. Our regulars drank this as their whiskey of choice. Although not exactly this version, it's evolved a little since then, I must say. And yeah, like all of the folk musicians all drank Black Bottle. Like and a lot of them would have a half pint glass, or a pony glass actually, which is a third of a pint, and they'd get a triple Black Bottle, and then they'd top the glass up with water and they'd drink it like it was lemonade. It was mad. But yeah, I mean, it is one of the whiskies that really got me into Scotch. Before that, I'd only really had experience with Irish whiskey, which is bizarre. For those who might have missed the episode where I explained that, I was actually in an Irish folk band in Derbyshire, England, with two other English guys. None of us were actually Irish. I'd never even been to Ireland. I'm not quite sure how I ended up singing Irish folk songs. It was odd. When I got to Scotland, started hanging out with Scottish folk musicians. They took me in as their own, taught me the Scottish folk tradition, and taught me the Scottish drink. Yeah, I have such a huge soft spot for Black Bottle. And it's a great whiskey with a great history. It's started in 1879, which is quite a long time ago, and it started with some tea merchants who used their expertise of tea blending to create a whiskey, and they were called the Grahams. I think Gordon Graham is still on the bottle. It's actually said Gordon Graham's Black Bottle on the label here. It's even actually imprinted in the glass on the back. Hey, it's even got 1879 on the bottle. I didn't need to try and remember that. Could have just looked at the bottle, Adam. But yeah, so it's got a long history. And it's iconic. It really is. It did sort of disappear for a while there. Interestingly as well, when I started drinking Black Bottle, I thought it was hilarious because it was called Black Bottle, but it came in a green bottle. And there's a reason for that. In 1914, they suddenly had to stop using black bottles because they got their black glass from Germany. And yeah, it was pretty hard to get black glass from Germany in 1914, so they swapped over to a green, but decided to keep the name Black Bottle, which, sure, why not? It seemed to have worked. It survived its green phase. In fact, it only very recently went back to the black. So when it started back in the day with the tea merchants, started off based on Aberdeenshire malts. And it was said to be quite peaty based on those Aberdeenshire malts. it doesn't really say what malts in Aberdeenshire. If I'm going to guess, the kind of distilleries in and around Aberdeen at that time that would have been making peated whiskey, the two big ones would be Ardmore, and you probably know how much I love Ardmore, one of my all-time favourite distilleries, and Glengarry, another one of my all-time favourite distilleries. That being said, there's probably little to no Ardmore or Glengarry in Black Bottle today. It's been on a lot of travel since then. It faded into relative obscurity, really, throughout most of the rest of that century. It wasn't until 1990, when it was picked up by Allied distillers, that it became more popular again. And they actually changed the recipe completely to be Islay-centric, which is why I get to feature it on the Facial tasting right now. And that Islay-centric malt became really, really popular. In certain pockets of Scotland specifically. It was a hometown hero. In 2003 then, it was sold alongside Bunnahabhain. They were co-owned, which, another reason we get to drink Black Bottle here today, as well as the Bunnahabhain. It was sold with Bunnahabhain to Burn Stewart, who at that time, Billy Walker was in not quite the infancy of his whiskey journey. He'd been in the industry for a long time, but it was before Billy Walker was involved in, the Glendronach, Glenglassaugh, and Benriach trilogy. He was instrumental in bringing those distilleries together for Burn Stewart, which is, of course, the Bunnahabhain, the Deanston, and the Tobermory distilleries. And he probably had a hand in the blending of Black Bottle in those days as well. It's been on quite the journey. In 2013, it changed again, quite dramatically. It went back to the Black Bottle. We have an actual Black Bottle now, as you can see. And the master blender at the time, Ian McCallan, actually, this is a direct quote from him. He said that Black Bottle lost itself in Islay, and he wanted to recreate the original richness and imitate the original northeast style of Black Bottle, but still retain those Islay malts, especially Bunnahabhain, seeing as that is like the linchpin, I guess, the building block, the foundation of Black Bottle. And yeah, they came up with a new recipe, which is much more similar to the olden days of Black Bottle. Repackaged it, put it in a beautiful bottle with a nice new branding and logo. I think they've done a bang-up job. It isn't the Black Bottle that I fell in love with, but I have also fallen in love with this one. So for those of you who are... There's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, Black Bottle's not as peaty as it used to be. Well, that is true. It's not as peaty as it used to be. And I'm sure some of the limited edition Black Bottles that they've got in the works that hopefully one day will make it out here to BC will be more peaty and more like it was back in the early 2000s. But just because it's not as peaty doesn't mean it's not as good, unless the only thing you care about in whiskey is peat, and, fair play if that's your preference. But I think this is potentially more well-rounded and better crafted whiskey and less of a one-trick pony. And I'm still a big fan of this whiskey, and I'm going to stop talking about it and crack it open and try some. Actually, I should probably read the label first. I don't think I've actually read it before properly. There's all kinds of information on a label that you might miss out otherwise. Curiously rich and slight smoky whiskey. Cool. And what does it say at the top here? Gordon Graham & Co. was established in 1879 with the creation of the Black Bottle. Made from a secret family recipe, the unique character of the original blend can still be savoured to this day. Cool. In 1879, Gordon Graham had an ambition to create a blended Scotch whisky without compare, the perfect dram, if you will. Today, the same pursuit of perfection can still be found within every drop of the Black Bottle. Neat. So I'm going to crack this open. The one thing I do wish with Black Bottle is I do wish it had a cork, because I'm getting a lot of feedback. People seem to love it when I uncork a bottle and pull that little ooh face when it's a nice sound. This, I'm going to hold it up to the microphone, because this is not anywhere near as satisfying of a sound. It's fine. It's just not the same, but probably safer. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. A long time ago, I actually started writing a song about Black Bottle. I should probably see if I can find my notes and finish that. So what have they done to try and recreate the traditional Black Bottle tasting and from the recipe? Well, this new version is quite interestingly using a double maturation technique. They use an alligator char cask, which is a cask that has been charred to an incredible degree, about 193 degrees, they say in their marketing. For those of you who are familiar with the Ardbeg Day release a few years ago where they had the Ardbeg Alligator, that's the same kind of idea. Heavy, heavy char, so much so that the inside of the cask is completely black and has deep cracks in it, where more char can get into the whiskey, which is very cool. Then it's finished in virgin oak casks, which are hand-built in the Kelvin cooperage in Kentucky, and it's finished for between 6 and 9 months in those, which is perfect because as much as virgin oak can give these beautiful coconutty, vanilla-y, honey kind of notes to a whiskey, it's very easy to over-oak a whiskey in virgin oak if you don't know what you're doing. So 6 to 9 months is a good amount of time in a virgin oak. You wouldn't want any more than that. Let's give it a shot. Interesting colour. It's definitely not the colour I remember the old Black Bottle to be, that's for sure. I've never really questioned the colour because I generally just drink it and don't pay too much attention to it because it's just a nice sessionable whiskey, I guess. It's a session whiskey, which it actually is a session whiskey in Scotland. Like as I mentioned in the folk pub, though the folk musicians when they do their stints of in the pub, it's called a session, right? They lead a session. They're the folk musician in charge, and all the other folk musicians join in on their session. So this is a session whiskey. It's yeah. I used to have a Black Bottle t-shirt, which was my favorite t-shirt of all time. My current favorite t-shirt, of course, is this Shelter Point one, which I'm wearing right now. But yeah, I used to have a Black Bottle t-shirt, which I wore so much that all of the Black Bottle branding came off it and became just an old black t-shirt, which is unfortunate. I'm on a quest to find a new one. And I got that t-shirt because we actually had a competition. Black Bottle did a competition in Edinburgh for which bar could sell the most Black Bottle in one day. And even though our bar had a capacity of about the same as this hotel room, it was about the size of Big Bad John's. We managed to beat every other bar in Edinburgh that day for Black Bottle sales, and all the bartenders got a free t-shirt. It was great. It was also great because we had it on promotion, where I think it was £1 for an ounce of Black Bottle. So everyone was drinking Black Bottle. Like all of the regulars that drank Black Bottle just drank double the amount, and everyone that didn't normally drink Black Bottle just drank Black Bottle. It was also great as a bartender because although the tipping culture doesn't really exist in Scotland, it's a North American thing, and I think I'm not really a fan of tipping culture. I think just paying a good wage and not having to tip would be ideal, but I think we're too far down the road for that now. But in Scotland, tipping culture isn't really a thing. However, if you're on really good terms with the regulars, every so often they say, and one for yourself when they place an order. And how most pubs in the UK do that is you put the equivalent amount of money for your go-to drink, whether that's a pint of lager or a dram of whiskey. You have a glass with your name on it behind the bar, and you put that amount in there, and then you ring it through after your shift. You're not supposed to take the money home. You're supposed to actually have the drink, because otherwise it's taxable and all that. And a lot of people bought me a drink that day. I think I actually ended up just buying a whole bottle of Black Bottle and taking it home, which was cool. At bar price too. So that was love this whiskey. Yeah, it's definitely very restrained on the smoke with this edition. But it's got this lovely creamy black pepper thing, almost like if you've ever had like a cream of mushroom soup with fresh black cracked pepper, it's got that kind of nose without the mushroom. Just a cream soup. That doesn't sound as appetizing though, does it? Yeah, imagine like a hot, thick cream and black pepper on the nose with a little touch of smoke. Yeah, that's very good, and it's just good. It's good whiskey. It's good drinkable whiskey. It's only 40%. It's not a nerd's whiskey. It's not, single cask strength, one of a kind, only 12 wherever made kind of a whiskey. This is a mass-produced blend, but in my opinion, it's one of the absolute best mass-produced blends. It's also normally $34.70, and it's currently $29.91. So you can get this whiskey for $30, which is pretty bloody good. Just the right amount of smoke in there. It's really, for those of you who don't generally like smoky whiskey, this is a really good way to sort of ease yourself into the idea of enjoying smoke. It's hardly even there. It's honestly about as smoky as like Johnny Walker Red is these days, and you might laugh at that. But if you do a blind tasting and actually really pay attention to Johnny Walker Red, it's surprisingly smoky. Actually, it's got quite a bit of like Talisker and Gila in there. Yeah, but yeah, no, definitely maritime-y still, and that's the interesting thing. And I think that has to come from the fact that it's got a large percentage of Bunnahabhain and probably Tobermory in this malt, the malt components of this blend. It's still definitely quite grain heavy. It's light. It's not particularly viscous, but it's just a damn good, light, enjoyable blended whiskey. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this $30 whiskey. Value for money wise, it's like really quite high up there, I would say. All right, so you've probably heard me talk about Black Bottle for far too long. I'm sure not many people on this planet are quite as excited about it as I am, but I do just love it. But as much as I love Black Bottle, I really also love Bunnahabhain. But I've never been there. I was actually planning to be there right about now, actually. Actually, probably would have been next week I was planning to be there, but of course, with the COVID-19 outbreak, that's not happening. So I'm actually going to pass over to someone who has been there and knows this distillery very well. So it is an absolute honor to welcome to the stage here at Drinking Out Loud a roving correspondent, if you will. This is the brand ambassador in Canada for Bunnahabhain, along with Tobermory and Black Bottle and Deanston. Welcome, Mike Brisebois.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Brisebois, and I'm the Canadian brand ambassador for Distell Malts here in Canada. Huge thank you to Adam Bradshaw and the Jam Association and Drinking Out Loud for welcoming me to tonight's tasting virtually. We know times have changed over the last 12, 15 weeks, and usually I travel across this beautiful country, and now doing everything virtually. So I'm very happy to talk about this amazing distillery and leading you into the tasting, where Adam's going to explain more about the tasting notes of each of the whiskeys that you'll be trying and talking about. I started my journey because of this distillery. It was the Bunnahabhain 12 year that once I tasted it, it honestly blew me away in terms of the explosion of flavors and just the uniqueness of the whiskey itself. When I look at a bottle of Bunnahabhain, when I first received one, I was like, what is this? There's a helmsman on it, it's a black bottle. I had no idea what to expect. But then I tasted it, and it blew me away. The explosion of flavors, the nutty notes, the fruit notes, the vanilla. I had to learn more about the distillery. And that's when I reached out to the distillery and the agency here in Canada, and I said, I need to meet the brand ambassador. And they're like, well, Dr. Kirsty McCullum, who is our global brand ambassador, she comes here once or so every couple of years, but she could be at the West Coast, the East Coast, or staying central. And I'm like, you know what? The whiskey enthusiasts in Canada need to learn more about the distillery. And I'm like, hire me. Let me be the voice for this distillery. So they said yes. So 5 years now, I've been very lucky to share the story of this amazing distillery. And that's my goal tonight, to talk about what makes it unique, what makes it special, and maybe fall in love with the distillery as much as I have. Now, the distillery was established in 1881, and from 1881 to 1963, the only way to get to the distillery was by boat. There was no road. There was a little road. It was a dirt road, but it wasn't useful for transportation. So the only way to get the barley in and the only way to get the whiskey out was by ship. And that's why the helmsman is on the face of every single bottle of the distillery, to pay a lot of respect to, the men that battled the waters to ensure enough barley was brought and enough whiskey was brought back to the mainland. Now in 1963, changed a bit. We doubled the stills and started sourcing our water from a natural spring. The only distillery in Islay that actually sources their water from a natural spring. So it's 100% clear. And we're able to offer something different from Islay that no other distillery can. We're known as the gentle dram of Islay, but in the sense, it's an amazing expression of whiskeys that we can offer. When we look at the 12, the 18, and 25 year being unpeated. But then we do have our peated expressions with the Kilbonnock and the Toy Chicaga. But when you look at the distillery itself, I call it a sleeping giant. And it's a journey to get there. In the early days, it was a journey to get there because the only way to get there was by boat. But now it's a journey because that road there, it's a journey itself. If you imagine, it's a single track road and you never know what's going to happen on that road. Animals and cows, but oncoming traffic. And it's bumpy at times as well. With the peat that's being cut across the island, it kind of changes the way the roads are as you get to the distillery. But what I love most about the distillery when I visited 4 years ago, my first time, going down that single track road, you feel the history leading up to the distillery. And then, pouring rain during my time there as well. And we went over the hill and we saw the distillery. I had goosebumps, honestly. I felt like I was going back in time. I felt I was in the 1800s, the early 1900s, when the distillery was really up and coming in that industrial kind of way. And because of having a highly demanded peated expression back in that time. But yeah, I felt like I was going back in time. It's a journey to get there. And for those who have been there, understand. For those who haven't, when we could travel again, go. It's a place that really takes your breath away. Overlooking the Paps of Jura. And I love having a dram on the pier, just overlooking the sea and the Sound of Islay. And looking back at the distillery behind me. A lot of history, a lot of passion goes into the whiskey itself. We look at our mash tun. It's a behemoth, 12.5-ton mash tun. We look at our stills. They're the tallest stills in Islay. And, it's a working distillery. You feel it when you're there. If you talk to Robin Morton, our stillman, he's been almost with the distillery 40 years now. And I love talking to him because he shares amazing stories of the past and how it's really come today. And, take the time to talk to some of the warehousemen, the stillmen, the mashmen when you're there, because they're really passionate about what they do every single day to produce amazing whiskeys for us here in Canada. And, like I said before, it's a sleeping giant, and a lot of people are really, jumping on Bunnahabhain over the last couple of years, and I've been so privileged to see the ride over the last 5 years. So Bunna 12, my go-to whiskey. It's the whiskey that got me into this distillery. I know you're tasting it this evening. In British Columbia, we do have a wide assortment of Bunnahabhains that have landed. We have the Bunnahabhain Struadair, we have the 25-year, we have the Kilbonnock, a few cases left. I think there's less than a dozen cases left. The Toy Chicaga has landed as well. And looking forward to seeing some more expressions coming there. So thank you for inviting me this evening to talk a little bit about Bunnahabhain. And if you want to reach me, you can contact me on Instagram at the Whiskey Explorer, no E, or on Facebook, Mike Brisebois. And very happy to stay connected with you throughout this time. And I look forward to my next trip to Victoria to talk all things Bunnahabhain again. So cheers, stay safe, and thank you so much. Good night.
All right, well, thank you very much for that, Mike. Great to have you on the show. I always love listening to Mike talk about Bunnahabhain. I actually had the honour of being in his masterclass this year at the Victoria Whisky Festival, where he was telling me all about Bunnahabhain, making me wish I was there, and God, I wish I was there. But to be perfectly fair, if I'm going to be stuck anywhere during the COVID-19 outbreak without being able to travel, Vancouver Island's a pretty bloody nice place to be stuck. I mean, we do live in paradise here, guys. It's always good to keep that perspective. I've managed to finish my black bottle, so I'm going to put this one aside, and let's start with the Bunnas. Now, good place to start with Bunnahabhain is their flagship malt, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. This is the Bunnahabhain 12. Fantastic whiskey. Just stunning. Love the lid on this guy, by the way. It's got the picture of the helmsman, or helmsman, is that the right term? Duke, please let me know if that's the right term for the guy who's at the helm of a ship. Helmsman sounds right, but it also feels like it doesn't quite ring true. Captain, navigator, wheel person. The ship's wheel person is on the lid. Yeah, an alluringly complex bouquet of aroma. With aroma of dried fruits, toasted nuts, and vanilla with delicate coastal influence, natural colour, unchill filtered, product of Scotland. That is one thing I absolutely love about all three of the distilleries represented by Mike. They all have a certain level of integrity to them, and I think it was Ralphie who first coined the term integrity malt, but these guys are exactly that. No chill filtration, no colouring, and everything they release is at least 46.3%. And I'm hoping at some point that will roll over to the black bottle as well, because if we can get black bottle just up to 46.3, magic would happen. Alright. So let's read the back. Russet Gold, this is a complex 12-year-old with hidden depths. Aromatic, fruity floral scents with the most subtle hints of smoke. Prepare the palate for sweet fruit and nuts with a vanilla and caramel finale. Andrew Brown, distillery manager, and it's actually signed by him. And I got really thrown off when I first saw Andrew Brown's signature on one of these bottles of Bunnahabhain, because that is actually alarmingly similar to my own signature. Like, I'm pretty sure if I just printed that on the back of my credit card, no one would ever bat an eyelid. Which is interesting. Probably shouldn't be telling people that, but Andrew Brown, if you watch this, then please don't steal my identity. In fairness, you probably don't need to. You're the distillery manager at Bunnahabhain, and I work in a liquor store. On the remote northeastern coastline of the enchanting Isle of Islay lies Bunnahabhain Distillery. The warming oceanic winds which swept across the Sound of Islay and through the rugged landscapes of the distillery help cocoon the casks as they mature into distinctive malts. The idyllic location of Bunnahabhain, pronounced Bunnahabhain, and meaning mouth of the river in Gaelic, was discovered in 1881 when the only real way to access this isolated corner of the island was by sea. Today, the adventurous will still be rewarded by discovering many subtle layers of this welcoming malt. So yeah, Bunnahabhain is much like the video that we had a couple of days ago where we had Bruichladdich, is very, very favoured by the locals who, despite living on Islay, historically tend not to actually like heavily peated malts. Bunnahabhain is a local favourite because it is generally not that peaty for their regular editions. And that is exactly what we're dealing with today. Let's pour myself a glass. Now this is a cork, so I'm hoping for a satisfying pop and glug. Get rid of the cap. Actually, I'm going to take the whole neck off. Goodbye, neck. Anytime it's a personal bottle, I don't always do it on camera, but I always take the caps and scarves off. I like the naked neck look. Let me know if you agree or disagree with that. I also throw out the tubes. I am a heathen. Alright. Yeah! Yeah, that's a nice little pop. Let's go for the glug. Yeah, that's a good 9 out of 10 for the pop and glug there. So the one other thing with Bunnahabhain that really makes it different from any other Islay malt is not just the fact that it's, very, very lightly peated, but it's unpeated really. It's the sherry casks. This is just this absolute beautiful coming together of maritime sherry. It's like nothing else. I mean, there's very few other distilleries that quite capture those flavor profiles like this. I mean, anytime you think maritime, Bunnahabhain comes to mind, maybe Old Pulteney. Old Pulteney tends not to be as sherried as the Bunnahabhain. Like the Bunnahabhain 12 is just a beautifully well balanced whiskey. It's not overly sherried. It's not overly smoky. It's not smoky at all, really. And it's the perfect whiskey for people who want to go on a tour around Scotland, either in person or in drink, and doesn't want to skip Islay but doesn't like smoke. And even more so than Bruichladdich, I would say, because Bruichladdich still has that weird sort of iodine-y, funky thing somehow. Bunnahabhain isn't. It's maritime-y, but it's not smoky, it's not iodine-y, it's just this beautiful, rich, caramelly, salty, deep, fruity thing. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. This smells right now like someone has taken a beautiful sort of craft handmade rum and raisin ice cream and dipped it in milk chocolate. Okay. I always forget how good this whiskey is. I always know that it's good, but I always forget quite how good. And honestly, one of the most requested things right now, which we just cannot get our hands on here in BC, is Glendronach 12. I need to remember anytime someone says, "Do you have Glendronach 12?" Instead of going, "No, we have the 8-year-old," which is frankly not the same. I should go, "No, but you should pick up the Bunnahabhain 12. Same age, same kind of casks, same quality. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe slightly better actually." Bunnahabhain 12 is an absolute classic, and it often gets forgotten, I think, possibly because of location. People, I fall for it myself. Anytime someone asks for something heavily sherried, I think, anything Glendronach, Benriach, that kind of Space ID Highland thing, I never make the connection in my head. I was like, oh no, you should go over to Isla, because it doesn't feel like it makes sense, but it works so incredibly well. Damn, that's good. Big, rich, dried fruits. Lots of stewed plums, prunes, figs even. Hazelnuts. Salted caramels. Just classic. It's just an absolute classic. It's not avant-garde, it's not maverick, it's not flying off the handle with its uniqueness. It is just really, really good traditional classic style sherry cask whiskey with this slight maritime-y salty twinge to it. Yeah, I could drink this for days. I really could. That is stunning. But as stunning as it is, and it is, Bunnahabhain have more recently started, or restarted, should I say, peating a lot more of their whiskey. They used to do a lot of it back in the day, and then they went unpeated pretty much entirely. But in recent years, they've started doing quite a large amount of peated whiskey at the facility as well. I first came across this through the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, where we've had several number 10s or Bunnahabhains that were heavily peated, and I absolutely loved them. And I've had fun exploring some of the peated expressions of Bunnahabhain ever since. And yeah, it's been great. Before I move on to that, I should give you the price, shouldn't I? You should probably pick one of these up if it's in stock. I know though at the time of recording we are out of stock of this. Hopefully we'll get more in time for this before this video airs. If we don't have any, it's only going to be a matter of days until we do have more. Regularly, it is $96.43. We've got it on sale as soon as it comes back in, or right now, depending if we have any, for $85.13, which for this beautiful, rich, sherried single malt that is an integrity malt as well at 46.3, that is a deal. That is really good. That is really, really good. But as I was saying, peated Bunnahabhain is becoming more and more popular, and that is something that we're going to be exploring with the next 3 whiskies here. And before we go too far off the deep end, we're going to go slightly sideways from this whiskey with a special edition official bottling again from Bunnahabhain, which is kind of a hybrid between their regular editions and their peated editions. And that is the... I'm terrified of saying this wrong. I think it's Totich or Toitich, Adar, the second Toitich, which is awesome. This is their peated malt. I'll just push these to the side here. I'll just hide the tube. Don't have room for the tubes. Let's stick this on the floor. Move the bottle across. Give it a shot. There we go. Yeah, so this is their peated malt, but with a high percentage of sherry cask. So it's the perfect go-between between the 12 and some of their single cask stuff that we're about to have here of their peated expressions. Let's see what it says. Gallic meaning smoky too, because they had the original Totech, and now this is Totech 2, or Totech Adar. Charming with rich oak and pleasant warming peatiness, which drifts towards a sweet Oloroso sherry influence balanced with peppery notes. And I tried this over the festival weekend and was very, very impressed, and I'm very happy that we managed to get it here at the Strath. With touches of smoke from our peated malt barley, this whiskey's prickling strength emanates from the dram while warming with a lingering robust length and delicate sweet sherry influence. I really like the gold lettering, but when the light's shining on it, it's very hard to read. Yeah. Bunnahabhain, pronounced Bunnahabhain, and meaning mouth of the river in Gaelic, has been home to our distillery since 1881. Sitting at the tip of the rugged Isle of Islay, the finest whiskies are distilled here from a natural spring resource to create pure, soft, distinctive taste. Totech Adar, pronounced... Oh, hang on, there's an official pronunciation guide on the back. Should have looked at this before. Tochach-a-gar, tochach, or tochach, Tochach-a-gar, meaning smoky too in Gaelic, is a sequel to the original peaty paradox on Bunnahabhain's gentle single malt, with a touch of smoke from our peated malted barley introduced during its creation and combined with a higher sherry influence. Masterfully distilled and quietly matured, this special bottling offers the connoisseur an opportunity to try something truly unique and beguiling in nature. So very, very cool. Very cool whiskey. Alrighty. Well, it's exactly the same bottle style. I'm assuming exactly the same cork style, so if I don't get a satisfying pop out of this one, that's entirely on me. Let's get this neck off. Yeah. Lovely. Here we go. Yeah, that's good. Let's get a new glass. Very nice. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. It's very nice. So it smells peaty. Definitely, the peat is definitely there. This isn't a black bottle level of peat. This is a full-on peaty whiskey peat. But it does still retain a lot of the notes that you get on the nose with the 12. Yeah. Smells familiar. It smells like they just took a bottle of number 12 and smoked it. Number 12, the 12-year-old, and just smoked it. Same kind of beautiful, rich, dried fruits, but with a nice layer of almost savoury smoke to it. Wood smoke. Beach fire smoke. A little bit of kippers on there. Nice, very nice indeed. That is beautiful. Man, that is beautiful. When smoke and sherry are done together well, magic happens. Magic like the Ugadal or the Law. This is right up there with the Ugadal and the Law for, well, quite a bit less money. That's really good. It's really nice, thick, viscous mouthfeel to it as well. Really feels like you've got a nice chewy caramel that you've let slowly dissolve in your mouth, and then it's washed over with this beautiful pipe tobacco smoke with dried fruits in there as well. There's a sharp dried fruit. There's like a dried cranberry going on as well on the back palate. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, very, very happy with that. No buyer's remorse there. Let's move on, though, to the first of our 2 single casks. And, not sure which one to go with first. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. The hard thing is, I've tried one of them and I've not tried the other. So I know that one of them is quite peaty, but I have no idea how peaty the other one is. I'll start with the unknown. I'll start with the unknown. Oh, I should tell you how much the toy tick is. I said it was inexpensive compared to the other 2, but it is quite inexpensive compared to the Freudlaw or the Artbeg Udall. This is $108.61 normally. Right now it is $95.57 for the bottles remaining on Strathliquor.com. Link in the chat. Yeah, great whiskey. So yeah, next up I'm going to go with this guy, the unknown, the one I've not had before, but one that I've been very intrigued by. We got this in a while ago. I was planning to put it into an indie showcase, but of course with all the tastings being cancelled, it never made it. And I decided to get one and open it now because we're actually down to the last bottle at time of recording. So who knows if it's even available? There might be 1 bottle left right now. There might not be. Yeah. Ooh, as we saw with the pot shot in the last video, they like to stick these in quite hard. There we go. Good protection, but pain in the ass to get out of the box. Alrighty, Cooper's Choice. Great little independent bottler. Lucky to get them here in BC. Marcus, the importer, does a great job bringing these in. He's in it for the love of whiskey. He's a food guy, really. So he's in it for the flavor and the experience. He brings these in not really as a business, but more as a passion. So we're really lucky to be working with Marcus to get some of these fantastic Cooper's Choice in a pretty good price as well for BC. Especially things like we've had some fantastic Cooper's Choice in the last couple of years. We had that Family Silver from the 70s. We had the recent Family Silver, which was the Glenfarclas, which was awesome. We've had a whole bunch of really cool bottlings, and this hopefully is going to be one of them. Let's give it a read before I give the old pop and glug. So this is called the Cooper's Choice Honeyed Smoke, which is kind of cool. Non-chill filtered, it's natural colour. This heavily peated Isla single malt has spent many years maturing in American oak, with additional aging in a Cadillac wine cask, which has created a delicious mouth-watering dram, bursting with sweet honeyed peat smoke, apricots and spicy vanilla notes. Cask 24, bottled in 2019. So it says when it was bottled. We have no idea when it was distilled, so no age statement, single cask. But as you're about to see with the last whiskey, age is pretty irrelevant when it comes to heavily peated Bunnahabhain because the young stuff is fantastic. Cool. So this is one of 330 bottles. It's cask strength at 56.5% ABV, and yeah, Cadillac wine finish. And as many of you will know, I don't know my wines nearly as well as I should. So I'm going to cheat right now, and I'm going to use Wikipedia on my phone to tell you about Cadillac wine finish. So this segment is brought to you by Wikipedia. All right, what you got for us, Wiki? Cadillac is an appellation d'origine contrôlée, AOC, for sweet white wine from the Bordeaux wine region of France. It is located within the Entre-deux-Mers sub-region of Bordeaux. It takes its name from the town of Cadillac, so apparently nothing to do with the cars. In 2008, the area under cultivation was 128 hectares, which is 320 acres, producing 6,000 hectolitres of wine, which sounds like a lot, but I don't think it is. Like 320 acres is quite a small region for wine growing. And the grapes that are used in this sweet white Bordeaux are Muscadel, Sauvignon Blanc, Sauvignon Gris. Sauvignon Gris? Never heard that sounds like someone just mixed up Pinot Gris and Sauvignon Blanc. I didn't know that was a thing. And of course, Semillon at the end. So that's an interesting 4 varietals. I'm really intrigued by Sauvignon Gris. I'm going to have to ask Megan about that when I get back to the shop later on today. Yeah. Cool. Cadillac wine. All I know is it's a white wine cask. It's sweet white wine cask, so I'm expecting it's going to be a little bit like a Sauternes matured whiskey, but without the botrytis funk. Let's give it a shot. This promises a lot. Let's see if it delivers. Ooh, it's tight. Alrighty. That glug was almost the same as our intro video. Okay, let's put this in the foreground and let's see what we've got here. Holy shit, that smells like honey. They nailed the name. That is just honey. Wow! Wow, okay. It's not just like, oh, it's sweet. It's slightly floral. It's honey. This is just like taking a big old spoonful of honey. Actually, no, not a spoonful. Because it smells not like liquid honey, but smells like when it's crystallized, when it's gone a little hard in the jar there. And you have to sometimes microwave it to be able to spread it on your toast. Holy shit, that is just honey. Weirdly, I'm not getting that much smoke. All I'm getting is this massive burst of honey. All right. I literally can't get anything else but honey right now. It's so potent, that honey note, that I'm finding it really hard to get past it. Hopefully once I've given it a taste, hopefully I'll open up some more notes on the nose, because, I mean, I'm not complaining. It smells absolutely delicious, but slightly one-dimensional right now. Like I said, it describes itself as heavily peated, but I can hardly even tell it's peated because there's so much big, rich, delicious honey on the nose. Okay, let's give it a try. Okay, yeah, it's peated. And it's cast strength. That is powerful. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot more than honey going on the palate. And that is beach bonfire, that is bacon, that is... There's an almost lavender-like thing, almost in that sort of Bowmore FWP thing going on there. There's a slight lavender floralness to it. A little bit of honey. But yeah, it's definitely much bigger and more complex on the palate. Let's see if the nose is morphed now. I've tried it. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's calmed down a bit. I'm getting the smoke now. I'm getting a little bit of an iodine thing going on. It is definitely peaty. Yeah, I'm definitely smelling the peat on the nose now. That's good. I thought I was going mad for a second there. One trick that Lawrence Graham taught me, actually, I'm not sure where he picked it up. If you're not sure if a whiskey is peated, the easiest way is to pour a little bit of it into the palm of your hand. Also, great way of sanitizing if it's cast strength. Rub it together, let all the alcohol fumes vaporize off. Take a nice big inhale. Oh, and it always smells really malty whenever you do that. Regardless of whether the whiskey itself is a big, thick, malty-based whiskey, whenever you do that and you get rid of all the alcohol, all you're left with is the malted barley flavors and then smoke or not smoke, and then some of the other rich fruit flavors if they can come through past that after the alcohol's gone. But yeah, there's definitely some smoke in there. It smells like smoked barley. It's good. It's not great. There's something holding it back from greatness. It's not the perfect whiskey by any stretch of the imagination. If I was personally scoring this right now, I'd probably throw it in that 89, 90 kind of a range. But it's good. It is good. I'm going to add a little bit of water to it, just to see if that changes things. Because sometimes, if you've got a particularly aggressive single cask that needs opening up, water will do wonders. Sometimes it'll absolutely ruin it. In this case, it's just kind of turned the volume down a bit, which is not a bad thing, to be honest. Yeah, there's more going on now. I can taste the fruit. The fruit has actually opened up. It's kind of tropical. There's, I want to say, kind of a kiwi fruit thing going on, that sort of mouth-tingling kiwi fruit sensation. That's good. Yeah, it's better with water. Much better with water, actually. Might push it up to a 91. Yeah. Hell. If there is one bottle left, then I can't imagine it'll be left for long. But you can pick it up, maybe. The special Dram Association price for this one is in effect for the last bottle if it's still available. It's normally $134.70, and today you can get it maybe for $118.17, which is quite the bargain for this whiskey, to be honest. The Cadillac wine finish is neat. Single cask Bunna for that price. Yeah, it's decent. If there's one left. Yeah, that's quite good. And now it's all easy going now, because this last whiskey is one that I know for certain that I like, because I have an open bottle of it already at home. But for completeness sake, I'm going to crack open a new one on this video, because who doesn't love an unboxing video on YouTube? Let's move along. So this is from AD Rattray. AD Rattray are another classic independent bottler from Scotland. We had the honour of having some representatives from AD Rattray at the Victoria Whisky Festival this year, and we actually hosted, the Dram Association hosted an AD Rattray tasting the day after the festival, I think the Monday after the festival, where we went through with their who was the cask warehouse manager, I think. I can't remember his position now, but he was a very good talker. Knew a lot about the whiskey. He went through and presented a bunch of them to the Dram Association. We had 6 outstanding releases from them. This was one of them. Yeah, absolutely love it. Actually, that was the very last time I saw Jay in person, I think. Jay Wheelock. He was the importer for AD Rattray before he sadly passed away last month. No, it can't have been the last time. No, I think I caught up with him for lunch actually in February. But yeah, this was one of the whiskies that I took a bit of a chance on under the advice of Jay, because he tried it before I did and recommended I buy quite a bit of it, because it is very good, despite the fact that it's 6 years old. Now, 6 is very young for a whiskey, but it's good that people are confident enough in the product these days to be able to put a young age statement on there. This is probably 6 as well, but they decided to forgo the age statement and leave it an air of mystery because they're slightly embarrassed by the number, and that's rubbish. I mean, Ardbeg have just buckled the trend a bit with that, with the, was it the Wee BC? I think it's 5 or 6, the new Ardbeg, which hopefully we'll get in at some point soon. Yeah, people are really leaning into the young age stuff. And as I mentioned in the last video, with the Octomores and the Port Charlottes were released at like 5 and 6 or 4 and 5 or something when their first editions came out. So it's definitely something that's been going on for the last decade or so. This sort of movement towards younger peated whiskies being presented, and it makes a lot of sense, because the whole thing with maturation, right? It's that chart where you've got the flavor coming from the wood and the flavor coming from the spirit, and the older it gets, the less spirit you have and the more wood you have, and that intersection is where it's like balanced. You don't necessarily want that balance in a peated whiskey, because if people are wanting a heavily peated whiskey, they're wanting a heavily peated whiskey. They want that spirit. They want the big spirit in there, and if that's the main driver to the flavor that you're after, you don't need to age it for very long. 6 years is apparently more than enough, because as I'm about to rediscover, hopefully, I love this whiskey. And if I pour it now and decide, actually, I'm not feeling it today, I'm going to be very disappointed in myself, because I've had this a good dozen times and I've loved it every time so far. So yeah, this is a single cask, 155 bottles from a bourbon hogshead. This is actually a part cask. The idea, that was a point of contention. A lot of people were like, oh, well, how is it an individual special whiskey if it's only a part cask? Why? How is this a BC exclusive if we only get a half cask? Surely the other half is floating around somewhere, so that's not an official BC exclusive. Yes and no. So half of the cask was bottled, and then the other half is going to change a little bit before it's bottled. It's going to be bottled slightly later, but it is actually still coming to BC. That is the plan as far as I'm aware. We'll be seeing the other half of this cask later in the year. So it's still a BC exclusive, and it is going to be slightly different to the other half cask we've got coming. It was distilled on the 16th of October 2013, and it was bottled on April the 11th, 2019. So a lot of information on there. It's cask strength at 59.1, so actually 56.5. There's a chance this might be slightly older, but again, with any individual single cask, the Angels do not take from casks equally. They have favorite casks, so it might just be that this one, it could be even younger. It was just a particularly leaky cask or Angel friendly cask. Yeah, actually, there's a little bit of information about A.D. Rattray on the back of this. I may as well read for you guys if you're not familiar with the bottler. A.D. Rattray has been a family business involved in the blending and maturation of single malt Scotch whisky since 1868. The company's horse-drawn carts carrying cases of fine wine and spirits were a familiar sight on Clydeside and central Glasgow during the late 1800s. Today, the company, Andrew Dewar Rattray, founded, is based in the west coast of Scotland and in the hands of the Morrison family, whose name and reputation are steeped in whisky history. Of course, with Morrison Bowmore. As an independent whisky company, A.D. Rattray now sources spirit and casks from all the traditional whisky regions of Scotland. Only the finest are selected for bottling as part of the A.D. Rattray cask collection. Each distillery is represented in different and every cask is unique. The result is a distinctive expression of distillery character and cask maturing in every bottle. This spirit has been rough filtered, removing any fragments of charred wood left behind by the cask, and then bottled at natural colour and cask strength. And you're about to see how natural the colour is. No flavour is lost as a result, and the true essence of the whisky spirit and cask interaction is allowed to stand out for your full enjoyment. This is the ethos of the A.D. Rattray cask collection. Cool. For more information, visit adrattray.com. Look at that. That looks like a Riesling. That is ridiculously pale, but I don't care, because pale things can be incredibly good. There's far too much emphasis put on the colour of whiskey. It doesn't tell you whether the whiskey is going to be good or bad. It mostly just tells you what kind of wood it's been in. And this has been in an ex-bourbon hogshead, probably refill, for only 6 years, and the colour is exactly what you'd expect from those specs. Have a little bit of a tasting note on the back as well, actually. Colour, white wine, yeah. Nose, Caledonian forest, smoked mussel and beech bonfire. Palate, tangy pear and seared scallop wrapped in bacon. Finish, strong, youthful peat, balanced beyond its years. One thing I do dislike about this whiskey, because I do have to be slightly picky, is the fact that there's no bloody barcode on the tube. So when I'm doing inventory or trying to scan the thing, I've got to take the bottle out of the tube to scan it. Get your act together, A.D. Rattray. Think about the frontline workers here. All right. Although it's still better than the bloody packs of beer where the barcode's on the bottom. That's always annoying. Especially with the flimsy cardboard things, like lightly holding 6 bottles together. If anyone drinks like Japanese lager or something, it always comes in those really flimsy things that are holding 6 bottles of beer together, and the barcode's always on the bottom, and it's really awkward to scan. So, at least it's not that bad. Cap off. I'm going to take the scarf off here as well. Oh, I didn't take the scarf off the Coopers. Oh well. I guess it just means it's not officially part of the family yet. It's, jury's still out on the Coopers. But this one, I know I like this one. All right. Beauty. Okay. Smoke, smoke, smoke. This is smoke. So they call this one Stycia. Doesn't actually say Bunnahabhain anywhere on here, I don't think. No. Just says Isla Distillery single malt Scotch whisky known as Stycia, Staoisha. And that is, I believe, what the in-house code for the peated malt at Bunnahabhain. That is what they call it as. They don't release it under that name, but that is what it's known as in the blending markets as well. Or the independent bottle cask sale market. Yeah, man, that is beautifully smoky. What's the official notes here? Caledonian forest. I'm not quite sure what they mean by specifically a Caledonian forest. The only thing I can think of where a Caledonia forest would be different to any other, like an English forest, I guess, would be more likely to run into some bagpipes. But yeah, it does have that sort of dirty, maybe almost like a coniferous tree smell to it. Not pine though. It's definitely not stump gin. Smoked mussels and beach bonfire, I can get behind that, definitely. There is very much a smoked seafood thing going on here. I'd probably say scallops more than mussels. It's not quite as fishy as a mussel. It's more of that sweet seafoody thing. I'd definitely go smoked scallops. Maybe even wrapped in bacon. Yep, it's sweet, it's caramelly. All round. Exactly what you want out of a peat-centric, spirit-driven malt. 6 years. I'm happy that AD Rattray was so confident in this product that they not only bottled at 6 years old, but told us exactly how old it is, because that will help people try and remove this stigma against younger whiskey. Younger whiskey, there's a time and a place for it, there really is. We've got some wonderful young local whiskies that work really well, even at a younger age. Like we've got that Echoes of the Hebrides that we released, our single cask from Shelter Point. I think that's only 5 years old, the official age statement. It's bloody good. Patience is a Virtue, our other single cask we had this year, is 8 years old. And whilst that's the oldest Shelter Point that's ever been available on a shelf, that's still quite young by Scotch standards. But there's nothing wrong with that. If you've got a really good quality spirit and you've got good quality wood, that's a perfectly acceptable way to release a whiskey. It's just a slightly different flavor profile. What else? Tangy pear. Oh, it actually says seared scallop on the palate. So, yeah, that makes sense. It actually even says scallop wrapped in bacon. I know I read that out earlier, but my memory is lacking. Strong, youthful peat, balanced beyond his years. Yeah, it's really... This didn't need any more time in the cask. I don't think AD Rattray aren't a company hurting for money. Like they've got money in the bank. They didn't release this because they needed a quick cash injection. They released this because they believed it was actually ready to be released. Power to them. Yeah, that is good. I am getting the forest thing a little bit more now. It is broken twigs. We had an SNWS that reminded me of, quite a bit of this recently. The emanating petrichor, the Highland Park. It's got that fresh rain smell. This has kind of got that as well. A little bit mineralic. Not sure mineralic is a word, but you know, probably understand what I mean by it. If I say it enough times, it becomes a word. I think that's the way it works. Yeah. You know what? I still like it, which is good, because I've got a whole lot more to drink right now. So, this AD Rattray Stycia is probably going to amaze you if you try it, because despite being 6 years old, it is big, it is rich, it is very flavorful. It's also not that much of a gamble because it's really disgustingly inexpensive for what it is. This is a single cask, one-of-a-kind cask strength, official age statement, beautiful whiskey from a very reputable bottler, and you can get it right now for less than $100. Yeah, so its normal price is $106.87. Right now, it's $93.83. $93.83, which is bonkers. It is bonkers, and that's one of the reasons I have a bottle at home. We have about 7-ish bottles left right now online, I think. I don't think we can get any more. I think that's the last of this batch. Like I said, there should be another half coming down the line. But yeah, I'm really impressed with this bottle, especially the price. So if this sounds like the kind of whiskey that will keep you warm at night, it is coming towards summer, but we're not quite there yet. The nights are still cold. So if, like me, you're enjoying sitting outside at nighttime and taking in the fresh air, but you do need a little bit of something to keep you warm, this is that something. Beautiful. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this little trip around Bunnahabhain. Again, my huge thanks to Mr. Brisebois for giving us an introduction to the distillery. I will be sending Mike a official Dram Association T-shirt in the mail, which I'm sure he'll wear with pride. He does great things on Instagram. Check him out at his Instagram page. I'll put some links in the comments. He does a lot of live videos with the distilleries he represents, and he also has a T-shirt Friday thing where he wears T-shirts from different whiskey distilleries and things on Fridays. So hopefully you'll see a Dram Association one in the future on that one. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. The next tasting we have lined up is on the next Friday, the coming Friday, the first Friday of the month. And as you all know, first Friday means Scotch Malt Whisky Society Outturn. I say that, it's not actually been on a Friday in Victoria for quite a long time, but since we're digital and Fridays work fine, we're doing Fridays while we're doing the digital outturn. So digital outturn, we are doing a full outturn this time. We're not splitting it in half like we did with last month. So expect to see 6 brand new Scotch Malt Whisky Society whiskies being released in just a few days. And yeah, look forward to seeing you all there. Stay well, stay hydrated, stay lubricated, and I will see you on Friday. Slán Siva.
Here's to whiskey kisses with the peachy taste of scent.